what we've been doing over the last few weeks, which is the story of Passover. And let's see if we can set this up using the Bible as the basis of the fact that this is symbolism and allegory, etc. We have understood over the last several weeks the emergence of Moses as a part of our personality, the divine part of our personality, that will take us away from the conflicts of the mind that are very destructive to us in our home, the negativity, all of the anger and the violence that also manifests itself in the world in the form of wars and all of the pillaging that we've grown up with and kind of have accepted. And so what we find is this Moses comes to life within us out of the water, which is the truth of our meditation, and then moves into the meditative state, going into the desert, and then comes around the backside of the desert, which is the inference to this Kundalini, which is the movement up the 7 chakras. So when he does that, he then elevates himself to the mountain, which is in symbolism the higher mind, and there he meets the burning bush, which is the spirit, or the 4th stage of consciousness, which is fire. He then receives instructions, and he is told to take that which is the rod, which is the symbol of the spine, in which the spinal fluid flows and the energy flows up the spine, and that when he throws it down, the rod becomes a serpent, and meaning that when you no longer place dependence on yourself and your own ego, that then will become the spiritual power that will set you free. And then he is told that Aaron, who is his brother, will come within him and speak and so forth along with him, and they will confront Pharaoh. Okay? So what we're looking at is not the existence of these two people at all, but actually understanding that they both represent different parts of our nature. We have a Pharaoh nature which clings to that which is the old ways and clings to that which is the material aspects of our life, but the difficulties, and does not want to let us go. And we have that which is the new way, which is Moses. So these are parts and parcel of the aspects of our life, and we've reached the point now where you've learned that you've gone to your meditation. The energy has started to move within you, and now you've got to confront that. Not you necessarily, but the energy within you will start to confront the mind. Because there's got to be an end to all of the violence. There's got to be an end to all of the stress, and there's got to be an end to all of the negativity and all of the things that we've struggled through in our lives, whether they affect children, whether they affect teenagers, the old people, or whatever. We've lived in a time, in an era, in an age of extreme violence and negativity. And now you come to the point where you're going to confront that within yourself, because of the fact that if you do not free yourself, you can't free anybody else. If the negativity doesn't stop in here, the negativity will not stop in your house. It's impossible. And if the negativity does not stop in here, the negativity will not stop in a city or in a state or in a country. And where you have millions of people who are just inundated with negativity and all of the violence and so forth that they've been cultured with, then you have it exploding into violence. Whether the violence be in your house, whether the violence be in a country, it all comes out of the same thing. It comes out of the mind. And the story of Moses and the story of Passover is the story of not a person, not a country, not a Pharaoh, but a story of the very aspects of the human mind and freeing yourself up from those things which have held you in bondage and have caused you so much problems. So here you're going to get to the point of trying to become free. And so you have a confrontation. Basically, the confrontation is with yourself. It's on page 52. It's in Exodus chapter 7, on page 52, Exodus chapter 7. Okay, Exodus chapter 7 in verse 14 said, the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refuses to let the people go. And you know what that means? Your heart is hardened. Your heart is hard. Even though you don't want it to be, it is. Because what you'll see all these plagues come, and every time Pharaoh said, I'll let you go, but every time he changes his mind. And it's like us. Oh, God, get me out of this mess, and I promise I'll never do it. I'll never. And then as soon as the mess is over, we go right on and forget about it until the next plague comes. And we get plagued. And we get plagues of health. We get plagues of money. We get plagues of family and domestic problems. We get plagues with children. And these plagues continue to come and continue to come. And we go to church and we pray that if we can only get out of this particular plague, we'll never, we're going to stay. And it just is. Why? Because Pharaoh refuses to let go. Your mind will not let you go. And here you look outside and you see what has happened. You see the problems that we have in the schools. You see the problems that we have with children. And yet there's not a soul that is willing to sit down with a child or with a teenager and begin to explain to them the workings of their mind. Who is that? Oh no, pray to some God somewhere, or do something else, or study this, or study that, but never get to understand yourself. And so the person then becomes a teenager, becomes a young adult, becomes a mature adult, and never has an inkling of what goes on within themselves and why they feel the way they do, why they think the way they do, what's going on in here. Nobody ever wants to sit down and discuss it with them. And so in Exodus chapter 7, verse 3, we see it was God that said, I will harden Pharaoh's heart. Because there are two aspects in you. There's a Pharaoh aspect and there's a Moses aspect. And every one of you has that. And I have it, and all of us have that. We have that part of us that clings to the thing that I'll do it this way. I'll direct it this way. I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell myself what to do. And then there's this Moses part that's saying it hasn't worked. It's wrong. It has brought forth a violence and an evil. There's got to be a way that we've got to find the desert. We've got to find that emotional churning Red Sea. And we've got to cross it to a promised land, because otherwise we're in a self-destruct mode. In our homes we're in a self-destruct mode. In our countries we're in a self-destruct mode. And so then the admonition comes in Exodus chapter 7 where you are in verse 15. Go to Pharaoh in the morning. When are you going to confront yourself? At the point when you are enlightened. The morning always means when you're enlightened. You are never going to do a thing with yourself. You're never going to do a thing with your mind. You're never going to do a thing with your negativity if you're not enlightened. Never. You're no match for it. Doesn't make any difference how much you pray. Doesn't make any difference how many songs you sing. You, your kids, your family, where you work. It will never work unless you rise up in the morning. In other words, when the light starts to come upon that which has been the darkness, that's the only time you can go. And the only time you'll find that enlightenment is when you're in meditation. And so it says, go to Pharaoh in the morning. And that means deal with your ego in the morning. Deal with your ego when you reach a point of enlightenment. Deal with your ego when you know what the ego is. Deal with the ego when you know how and what it is capable of doing to you. Because for the most part, we spend all of our lives, we have no idea. Go to the Pharaoh in the morning, and where does it say you will go? Exodus 7:15, and go out to the water, which means to the point of truth, which is that second part, that second stage of consciousness. And what is it said that you will do? And you shall take that which is the rod. In other words, you will find that which is the energy which rises up the spine through those 7 chakras. That's what you've got to do if you're going to confront Pharaoh. You can't do it any other way. You can't bring it. You can't read a Bible about it. You can't take any instructions about it. You can't go in and pray about it. You've got to do this. This is the only way. When you become enlightened, you energize that which is truth through your meditation, and then you depend on that which is the basis of the energy which flows up the spine, which the ancients called Kundalini, and which the Christians call the Book of Life and the Book of Revelation. And this is what Moses then, which is your higher mind, speaks out to the spiritual mind, which is Aaron. And he says in Exodus chapter 7, verse 19, he says, take your rod and stretch it out upon the waters of Egypt. In other words, take that which is yourself, take that which is your physical being, of which this divine energy will flow, and bring it into contact with that which is the deception which comes from the left side for your meditation. And what happens when he does it? It says then the rod touches the water and it becomes blood. In other words, when that energy of the self touches the distortion which has been in you and strangling you all your life, it becomes blood, it becomes spirit. The water turns to blood. It's the same as the water turning to wine. When you energize yourself within inside of yourself like this,